Hello, and welcome to Healthy Kingston, a health promotion and wellness program of the Kingston Board of Health. I'm your host, Janet Wade. First, a few announcements. I do want to let you know that the Serve Safe program for people working in the hospitality industry is going to start on June 3rd. Those people that are interested in applying need to go to the health department to register for the program by May 30th. Secondly, those interested in finding out what the requirements are for caring for mosquitoes on their property should refer to the town website. And lastly, if you're going to be serving food this summer at any festivals, fairs that might be going on, the health department requires a permit, so please go by and get one. Thank you. The focus of our program is caregiving and care for the caregiver. Caregiving in America is on the rise. 100 million U.S. adults function as caregivers, providing care for a child, parent, or other relative. That number is up from 43.5 million in 2015 and includes caregivers and also people who work full-time jobs. Half of U.S. households are dependent on two incomes to remain financially stable. Yet the increasing demand for loved ones to stand in as family caregivers can upset the financial balance of the average household, even in the most stable of economies. The cost of caregiving on the U.S. economy is nearly $44 billion due to the loss of more than 850,000 jobs and almost 800,000 individuals with absenteeism issues at work. There's been a sharp rise in employees functioning as unpaid family caregivers, in addition to working full-time. Almost a quarter of individuals must pull double duty between full-time work and caregiving duties that often include medical and nursing tasks. There's also been a dramatic increase in the time that caregivers spend caregiving. In 2020, caregivers spent an average of about 9 hours per week providing care, but currently they're now spending closer to 26 hours per week giving care. The number of people in the adult population providing care and working outside the household has increased from 1 in 7 4 years ago to now 1 in 5 today. When it comes to who needs to receive care, older adults lead at 41%, which stands to reason given Americans generally have longer lifespans, and that's followed by special needs children at about 29%. Working Americans who also provide care to loved ones are predominantly women. Balancing work and caregiving duties negatively impacts physical and mental health. Only 1 in 4 caregivers report their health as being good, meaning that they have regular exercise, they eat healthy, and they get a physical exam at least once a year. Only 1 in 3 say that they keep up with annual physicals and routine doctor's appointments. When it comes to mental health well-being, not even a quarter of the caregivers report good mental health. 40% say that their caregiving responsibilities negatively impact their stress, along with increased anxiety, depression, or other mental health issues such as substance abuse. Caregiving duties can harm workers' professional lives. Balancing work with caregiving responsibilities puts a strain on caregivers in ways that affect their employment prospects, working lives, and income. 1 in 5 caregivers has taken a leave of absence and received a demotion to accommodate their caregiving duties. And research shows that caregivers are twice as likely as non-caregivers to have experienced a layoff and limited their career growth and job opportunities. The statistics set the stage on the issue of giving care, but it's important to relay the human element and toll on people. And that's why next we'll be speaking with an actual caregiver who took care of her mother for several years before she passed. So with that, I have invited Alice Tramontozzi, who also happens to be my sister, and took care of our mother for several years to come and put a personal face on this and give us her ideas and her perceptions as to how the caregiving went for my mother in her senior years. So thank you very much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
I appreciate it. So first I want to ask you, when did you first notice with our mother that she needed extra care, that she couldn't live on her own?
Well, I would say it would probably be within a few months of my flying into Boston and bringing her back to Omaha. In the beginning, it was just wonderful having Ma there and, having the kids have a grandma on hand. But then she started to get very forgetful, and it was obvious that she needed more care. So I reached out to a geriatric doctor who was very good, and she suggested that my mother might want to go into adult care. And I found a wonderful woman who was perfect. We would take her my husband would take her in the morning, drop her off, and they would have the news on, they'd read the newspaper.
And that was a daycare center.
That was a daycare center, and they fed her a nutritious breakfast, a good lunch, and it was an excellent program. But as time went on and her Alzheimer's or dementia, as they refer to it at that point, got worse, the daycare was hesitant to keep her there. So my next step was two things. Number one, addressing safety, because Mom would lose her ability to do things in order. For instance, she would want to make toast, and if I wasn't in the room, she'd take a piece of bread, she'd butter it, put it in the toaster, and it would set fire. And I was really concerned about her hurting herself or setting the kitchen on fire.
Right.
So I was fortunate enough to find a class through the Jewish Community Center. They were wonderful, and there was a young man sitting next to me who had the same issue with his mom, turning on the stove, whatever. So he suggested that when I went home that I would go down to the circuit breaker, shut off all of the circuits that went to the stove, any electricity in the kitchen, and that resolved that issue. So the next issue with safety is that I realized, when I had to take her out of adult care, I couldn't leave her home alone. So I reached out to an agency that would send people out to stay with her during the day. So she would come when Joe and I left for work, and then I would get out at 3:30, she'd leave, and then at 9 o'clock at night when we'd get ready for bed, I had someone come sit outside Ma's room because I was always concerned she'd get up, forget her walker, and wouldn't be able to get safely to the restroom. So
the issues with her and why you had to intervene were her personal safety and the safety of the house.
Yes.
And not only fear of possibly setting a fire, hurting herself, but I know falling became an issue.
Falling was a big issue, which is why she needed to always have somebody around 24 hours, because she would forget to take the walker. She wasn't intentionally leaving it behind, she would just forget it. And then came one Sunday morning, we were coming back from Mass, went out to breakfast like we did every Sunday, and I was at the kitchen table facing Ma, sitting in her chair. We were talking, and I was filling her meds, and then I looked up again, and she was out of the chair, the walker was there. So I went running into the living room, and I found her on the floor. She fell, and she broke her hip. And that was the beginning of a very quick decline. Took her to the hospital, and they also found a heart issue, which they said at 79 she couldn't tolerate. But they told me that at that point, she was no longer safe at home, even though we tried to have somebody in the room with her 24/7. So I did what I never thought I'd have to do, is I put her in a home. But the good news was it was just a few blocks away. So when they transferred her there, we would see her every day, but she stopped talking. I think she was disoriented, and she wasn't there a week and a half when we went to see her, and they told her she had a stroke. And so at that point, they told us she didn't have much time. So that's when I reached out to the gift of hospice. They were a gift for Mom, and they were a gift for us. And I know you remember, they brought her back home, which made me feel 100% better. And we were with her when she passed. And hospice stayed in the picture after to see how everybody was doing. So,
looking at this, what were this? No, you were working full time while you were doing this,
That's right.
as was your husband.
Right.
So you were the typical caregiver with the dual working family members and the caregiver.
Right.
What were you feeling during all of this?
The really hard part for me was when she didn't know me anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I was that
hard.
woman.
Yeah, you were the mom instead of her. Yeah. She was the child. Yeah. No, that's very hard. So, and that's only one of the pressures.
Oh yeah. Well, that and then
and
I thought we'd have her a lot longer, and I never thought about putting her in a home.
Yeah.
But thank God, I'm so glad it was only a week and a half.
Right, and we got to take her home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
needless to say, you can read all the statistics you want, but when you bring it down to, the level of your own lives and your own families, it's a tremendously emotional subject, and very difficult for people to maneuver on their own. Even if you're a medical person, it's very difficult to get through the system, and never mind take care of your own emotions while you're going through all of this.
Yeah.
So I very much appreciate you sharing this. I know it's
I'm
a tough.
glad I could
I know
do
it's a tough topic, and it brought up a lot of memories, both for you and for me.
Yeah.
So
It did.
thank you.
It did. You're welcome.
Okay, so we've heard from a caregiver, my sister, who took care of our mother, and the feelings that she had while doing so and what she had to go through on that journey. Now I'm going to be introducing our next guest, Juli Ford, who works for Dovetail Company, and she is a life transition advisor. And she's going to be telling us a little bit more about what she does in helping caregivers and in taking care of their loved ones. So Juli, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting
Really
me.
appreciate it. So first up, tell us a little bit about your background, if you would.
Sure. So I began my professional career in affordable housing, and I was in that world for about 20 years. And about 17 years into that, I decided that I wanted to work a little more directly with people. I was behind the scenes, so I became certified as a health coach. And that really led me to wanting to merge my professional experience in affordable housing and with my personal experience of working with women one-on-one and providing a little more direct support. And then about 12 years ago, my dad became very ill and passed much too soon. And my mom was his primary caregiver, and I was by her side and his through his illness and death, with beautiful support from hospice. And so eventually all of that led me towards working with older adults, and I joined, you mentioned Dovetail Companies, which is a one-call resource for older adults and their families in a major life transition. So most of our clients are in their 80s, have lived in their homes for 60 years, and are really facing what are their next steps. So sometimes that involves, illness or cognitive decline. Sometimes it's just deciding where to live next, what to do with all of their stuff. Mm-hmm. And to enhance what I'm able to offer our clients, I became a certified senior advisor through that process. And now, because I live with my mom, or she lives with us, and she's going through the aging process and has been experiencing some illnesses and health challenges, I'm in the process of becoming certified as an end-of-life doula to really, on a personal level, help us manage what's coming up. Yeah.
Good for you. Tremendous amount of life experience that you're putting forth to really help people during very challenging years in their families' lives and their adult family members' lives. So tell me, when do you enter the picture, and what exactly do you have to offer?
Sure. So from the perspective of an older adult or their family facing life transition that's coming up, really the answer is the sooner the better. But the truth is often much later in the process than we should. We sort of live in denial about what's coming to us towards our aging process and our end of life. And we have really not a positive perspective on aging in the United States, so we don't talk about it. So the answer is the sooner the better. Should I or Dovetail enter the picture to help a family with planning? Because if you're planning ahead for the transitions that are inevitable, whether it's staying in your home and adapting your home in ways that can support your physical and personal cognitive needs, or whether you do have to transition to a senior living community and memory care, if you can have those planning conversations ahead of time so that you know what's coming up and you can plan for it together as a family, it's so much more helpful.
Do you have a structure? Do you have a format like that you can go through with the family? Because some people might know, I don't even know where to begin with this.
Right. Most of us don't know where to begin because we don't talk about it enough. So yes, so we do a lot of educational programs. We do a program called Should I Stay or Should I Go? That helps people figure out, can I stay in my home? Should I be thinking about moving on? We do a lot of education around end of life planning in a workshop format, or right sizing or downsizing your stuff, how to sell your home with ease, and look at things from a holistic perspective. But we also offer complimentary consultations in clients' homes. So it's an opportunity to sit down one-on-one with a certified senior advisor, or in some cases a certified dementia practitioner or geriatric care manager, and really talk about what's going on, what are the needs, and how can we plan for next steps. And then we can bring in services, refer to other professionals as needed, preferably early on in the process.
So you're more providing services and an advocate than, do you sit down with families at all and work through any emotional issues that they might be having in taking care of their loved one, or dealing with the loved one?
Yeah.
And any emotional issues they might be having in dealing with their
It's inevitable.
death.
It's inevitable that it comes up, which is why we have a variety of certifications and professionals, either on staff or that we can refer to and bring in. So at Dovetail, we have geriatric care managers, we have certified dementia practitioners, certified senior advisors, as I mentioned, and certified senior and specialty move managers, as well as seniors real estate specialists. So our intention is to really be a one-call resource for a family who might be experiencing a caregiving crisis or an upcoming move, so that we can assist in bringing in the supports that they need, some of which we'll provide directly, but some of which we'll make referrals out to other professionals that could be helpful. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, do you deal with hospice? I know we all know about hospice. Do you work with hospice at all?
Yeah,
We've heard of hospice.
so I have personal experience with hospice from my experience with my dad. And now in my end-of-life doula certification studying that I'm doing, I'm planning to have more interaction with hospice. But right now that's on a really personal level for me. So we highly recommend hospice. And certainly we can intersect with them depending on where we're coming into a process. But with transition services, that's not always, someone's not potentially at the very end of their life when they're thinking about making a move from their home or adapting their home. But certainly we love hospice.
Is this a fee for service? How does
Yeah,
this
it's a
work?
variety of things. So we always offer a complimentary consultation. And then depending what people's needs are, we'll create proposals for services. So some services like planning, like move management, are hourly rate, and we provide estimates for people on what the full scope of our services could look like, and then they can choose what things maybe families want to cover and what we can be of assistance with. And then we also can help sell their homes, and that works in a more traditional commission-based model.
Does insurance help with any of this?
It doesn't.
No,
It doesn't.
Okay.
It's so hard. But I was listening to you talk about the statistics. of families working, two people in the family working and caring for a loved one, and it's so sad that there's so little financial. It's a real financial strain. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, eventually that will be corrected.
I think the more we talk about it, the more possibility that we will have.
What a
more
tremendous
support.
service you offer. This is
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank
How do
you.
people find out about you?
So,
in Dovetail?
so dovetailcompanies.com is, you can just go to our website. We have a lot of resources there. So it's dove like the bird, then TIL like the tail. Dovetailcompaniesplural.com. Variety of services there. And then the more emotional support that I can provide, I also offer women's circles and retreats. Because everyone my age, I'm 55, all of my friends and women I meet my age are right in this sandwich of caring for their aging parents.
Right.
And then also oftentimes still caring for our children. Or our young adult children, which is still parenting.
Right.
And so you can go to julieford.com to see more resources about that. And I did create this caregiving guide that I created with the support of my mom called 5 Ways to Care for Yourself While Caring for Your Aging Parent. That I hope is a good into just sort of like a different perspective on maybe how to call in the support that you need, because I think a lot of us are out here feeling like we have to do it on our own.
Well, that's it.
Right?
That's it. And if you and people don't know, they want to help you, but they don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And you don't even know how to ask them to
Ask
help. Yeah.
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 So,
that's
no, that
that's
sounds
tip number
wonderful.
3. If you need support, you need to ask for it.
Ask for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to do.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You have to definitely humble yourself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
well, I'm excited. I hope people
Thank
are
you.
watching this, because I think this could be a gift for a lot of people to get them through a very challenging time in their lives and their senior family members' lives. So,
Thank you. I
thank
appreciate
you
it.
very
We're here to
much
help.
for
Yeah.
being
Thanks
here.
for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, again, want to thank Alice Tramontozzi, our caregiver, for her insight in caring for our mother. And I also want to thank Juli Ford with Dovetails, who is a transition advisor who helps people who are caring for their family members as far as being an advocate, getting them services, personal one-on-one care. I think the important things to take away are, it's important to look at our family members as they age, to look at the subtle changes that happen and see if they are safe, and if they're not, what we can do to help provide that safe zone for them and get the services that they need. And that we also need to take care of ourselves as caregivers, because we can only give as good care as we are able to take care of ourselves. And lastly, as Juli Ford had mentioned, more often than not, we wait too late to ask for help. That to be humble, reach out for help when you need it. Early stages, it will make the journey of caring for your loved one a lot easier.